As Blacko, please, can you mute your mic? Thank you. We have 2 minutes more for people to join. Good morning, everyone. Please, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Gennex Product Expose 6 Series 11.0. The topic we're saying today is all about discover Gennex InfiniSolar 10 kilowatts three-phase hybrid inverter. And my name is Timilei Oyawe. I'm the moderator for this program, and the facilitator is Engineer Kunle Olorunkoya. Is the lead project and technical for Gennex technology. About Gennex technology, we are a leading renewable energy in Nigeria, and we have sales distribution of solar products such as okay, thank you, Ikeme. It's already displaying the slide. Sales and distribution of solar products. But we have our Jinko, our Gowat, our Gennex inverter, and also we also have our residential and commercial industrial solar solution. As a Gennex, we are a solution provider. Like we install our inverters. We can help installing our inverters. We repairs also for repairing. We repair inverters also. And we also have our training whereby we train our solar installer to be a professional. To be a professional.
Yeah.
Salvation is important.
Next slide, please. Okay. Now we're inviting our facilitator, which is Engineer Kunle Olorunkoya. He is the lead project and technical team in Gennex technology. Now we welcome Engineer Kunle Olorunkoya.
Is it only this?
And if you want to win the case, after a while, you just see yourself going in deeper and deeper and deeper into those practices.
Oh.
Please, can those of us just joining, please mute our mics, please. Let's mute our mics.
Here they are now. And we are going to come out do so much.
Please, Mr. Obaro, Boro, please mute your mic.
Sorry, please, let's wait a few minutes for Engineer Kunle.
Good morning to you, everybody. You're all welcome to the overview of Gennex InfiniSolar inverter. And it's a 3-phase 48 volts hybrid inverter with 3-phase input and output, and a high voltage solar input, which can take about 1000 volts. Okay, moving forward, the inverter features are: number one, it's a pure sine wave inverter that has a pure sine wave output, as the output is clean. Then it's having dual MPPT tracker, MPPT charge controller inside it, but each MPPT charge controller has 2 inputs. Then it's it can feed into grid, but although we don't have that facility running currently in Nigeria here, so the programmable, it's also programmable for supply priority PV from battery or grid. So you can program which one you want to be the priority number one. Is it the PV? Is it the battery? And is it the grid? It's also programmable for multiple operation modes, grid tie, off grid, and grid tie with backup. So you can make use of it as off grid system, or as a grid tie, which is pushing to the grid, which is not really functioning like I mentioned. Then the grid tie with backup is what we mostly use. Many people are conversant with. It's having built-in timer for various modes of on and off operation. So you can make it work, like maybe you want it to charge for a particular time, you can program it. If you go through the manual, you see how all these are set. Multiple communication for USB, RS, all these ports are on the body of the inverter. You can communicate through SNMP. So that communication could go through internet. So which means you can monitor the inverter online as well. Or it's only the newer versions that are having Wi-Fi inbuilt in them. Then the inverter can also be paralleled. You can parallel up to 6 units. Remember, each unit is a 10 kilowatt system. So installation guide for Gennex InfiniSolar inverter. This is very important. All solar panels in a string must be on a flat roof platform or face same direction on the roof. This will enable all of them to generate equally. And then there'll be less or no loss caused by just one panel facing another direction. Connect each string of solar panel directly to each PV input. Like I mentioned before now, the inverter is having 4 inputs, 2 input per charge controller. So each string is connected directly from the roof to the input provided. So which means you cannot create a bus bar and join panels and now loop all the inputs together, or you loop all the inputs together on the bus bar, you loop all the panels together on the bus bar, you now bring them together. No, each input is provided to be connected to a string of panels. Open circuit voltage, which is VOC, of PV array should be about 500 volts DC, 800 volt DC. You can operate within that range. It's safe because the maximum voltage is about 900 to 1000 volts DC. So solar breaker must be 2-pole or 4-pole high voltage DC breaker. The input and output neutral terminal, excuse me, neutral terminal must be looped at the connecting terminal of the inverter, which means all neutrals must be connected to a common bar, to a point. All of them are common. The inverter must be connected to a good earthing system. Do not power on the inverter before configuration setting. Which means once you connect the solar input, you power only the solar input after the battery is switched on, so that you can do your configuration before you proceed. Do not reverse polarity of connection to avoid damage to the system. Also, ensure that lightning arrestor is installed alongside the installation of solar panels on the roof. All solar inputs must be confirmed not leaking. Be sure that connections are correct and intact. The inverter must be configured according to the system component size. Configuration is done with the computer software. Installation guide, control and protective devices for Gennex InfiniSolar inverter. You need to have at least 1 unit of input breaker, a single pole for 1 inverter. 1 unit of output breaker. No. The input breaker is 3-pole because the inverter is 3-phase. So if it's 1 pole for output, if you don't connect all the breakers, if all of them are not switched completely, you won't get the full 3-phase output Kronos. So it's better at times you use a 3-pole breaker. There are conditions that will make you use single pole as well. So that's why you see that it's 1 pole. 1 pole in 3 places will make the 3-pole for you. Okay, so 1 utility AC surge protector, which is 3-pole. 1 solar breaker, 1000 volt DC 20 amps. It's either 2-pole or 4-pole. It's a special breaker. per PV string. So one battery breaker, which is about 300 amps for positive polarity of the battery. Then one bypass switch, which is a 3-pole or 3-phase bypass switch, so that when there is a problem with the inverter, you can easily bypass to direct.
You understand it why they press. You understand what they talk.
If-
You don't know, but I don't say the way they on the way they
Inverter commissioning.
It's okay.
This procedure is very important as well.
What a procedure we don't do before now. That's what we don't do
Ensure
before.
the inverter is firmly secured. Because before you start commissioning, before you do every other thing, that means the inverter installation must have been completed. Confirm all connections are correct and all switches are in off state or off position. Then you start the commissioning by switching on battery breaker first. Then you switch on solar breaker after that. Switch on utility input breaker. Then you can connect your laptop to configure the system. That's the configuration. You know, the configuration is very important. It depends on the components you have on site. If you are using 4 batteries, you configure the charging current, you configure so that you don't damage other components around it, especially battery, which is the storage. Switch on the power button on the inverter. That's after you must have configured correctly. Then be sure there is no error code after switching it on. Even if the inverter is showing a warning code that frequency loss, that means frequency loss or input is lost. That means your utility is not available. That's not a problem. But if your utility is available at that time, it won't show any warning, anything. It will just, everything will just work perfectly. So be sure there's no error code. Switch on the output or load breaker. Switch on the bypass control to inverter to allow the inverter power the connected load. Now, to inverter decommissioning, switch the bypass control to bypass position to connect the selected load to direct utility, either your generator or public supply. Switch off the output of the load breaker. Switch off solar breaker. Switch off utility input breaker. You can follow the sequence. Switch off the power button on the inverter. Then finally, you switch off battery breaker. Please be careful. It is the battery breaker that will go off last. This is important. Common installation errors to avoid. Please avoid PV input voltage leakage, which means you have to test for leakage and be sure there's no leakage in your PV line. Do not connect all PV inputs together on a bus bar. This is a high voltage system. Let every string go straight to the input provided on the inverter. Improper cable logging can damage the inverter. It can damage cables, can cause fire, can cause anything. So please avoid this as a mistake. Wrong choice of cable size and quality can lead to anything you don't even expect. Cable burning, disconnection, noise affecting the program in the inverter, many things can happen, and then the system can finally shut down. Wrong rating of breakers. Wrong rating of breakers, stroke SPDs. Please avoid this as well. Select a correct rating of breakers and correct quality. PV module and mounting rails pressing solar cable against the roof sheet is wrong. Absolutely wrong. This is going to give you solar leakage. Terminals not properly tightened can cause noise, burns, and can lead to fire outbreak. Reverse polarity of connection. You know, this can instantly damage the inverter. Do not on or off battery breaker when the system is in operation. When the inverter is working, somebody just come in and switch off battery breaker. This is absolutely wrong. Do not set UPS mode while using generator. Although this inverter has a function, a part of the settings that you have to engage if you must use generator. So it's labeled as generator in operation or something like that. So you select that so that when you are using generator, you know, generator has noise so that it will be able to accommodate all that noise and the inverter will still work properly. Wrong commissioning procedure can damage the inverter. Please be careful. I think that's all on the tips and information to understand about the system.
Okay. Thank you so much, Engineer Kunle. Thank you for your input. Thank you so much. Everyone, I don't know if anyone have a question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. My name is John Seola Juigbe. Please, can I go ahead?
Okay, you can go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Engineer Kunle. Thank you so much for the beautiful presentation. Please, I have two questions. There are different types of inverters, as we are all aware. So what makes this inverter different? Why are you proposing it to us? Number one. Then can we have an idea of the cost? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. We all understand, just like you mentioned, that there are various types of out there. This has a high capacity to manage your battery. In terms of charging, I think it's about 14,200 amps for charging. It's a 48-volt system. Because it's a 48-volt system, you are not going to be losing batteries. It's not that when one battery is failed, then the system will crash, like we have in some system, because the batteries are arranged in series. They are high voltage battery connection. So this is just 48 volts. With 4 units of 12 volts, 200 amp hour, you can operate the inverter. But it may not be enough to serve your loads because of the capacity of just 4 units. So you may need to cascade, connect such setup in parallel up to the size that can operate your load. It's having a high power solar input, which can make your charge your batteries conveniently during the day and power your load. 200 amps for charging current is not small. And then the MPPT inside it can handle, I think, about 14,850 watts. So this is massive. So if you, and it is, you can parallel it. So when you have this connected together, they all work like a singular inverter, like we do for other small inverters like 55 kVA. But this is 10 kilowatts and it is 3-phase in and out. So when it's working, when you cascade 6, that is 60 kilowatts, which is equivalent to a 60, is even, the capacity is more than a 60 kVA generator, which is 3 kVA. I mean, which is 3-phase. So you can actually use it to do maybe off-grid system or mini grid like that, which you don't need many inverters of 55 kVA to bring together. And when one is faulty, which is one of the advantages, when one is faulty, doesn't disturb others, just shut down that one that is faulty. The rest will be working. You can just technically reduce your load until when that one is fished out or is restored. And once it's restored, it joins the system and the operation continues. So it's a smart inverter and it works. And when it's working, it works perfectly.
Sorry, anything about the cost?
Answers your question.
Sorry, anything about the cost? How much?
The cost you can get on the website, or you link up with the sales. The cost will be shared with you.
Are they imported or made in Nigeria?
They are not made in Nigeria.
Okay, they are imported. Please, from where?
Yes.
From where?
They are from China.
All right. Thank you very much. God bless you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Engineer K. There is also a question in the chat box, which is the person is asking that, please, how many of the inverter can I connect in parallel?
You can connect up to 6 in parallel. You just have to be careful, do all your designs properly, all your contact sizing and everything, sizing of cable, choice of components, just all those things I mentioned, put them into measure. Once everything is perfectly done, you can connect up to 6 and it will work perfectly for you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Hello, I have a question. Can I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, so sorry I joined late. I don't know if this was mentioned, but I'd like to know, what is the surge capacity for these systems? You mentioned that they are 10 kilowatt systems. How high and for how long can they go in terms of surge?
Well, the surge handling capacity is always ×2 the capacity of the inverter, which is 20 kilowatts.
For how many minutes or seconds?
I can't give you precisely, but I know is just for a short time because it's surge. Surge is not expected to stay long, but that value I can't give you precisely now. But it's stated in the manual, in the specification. We can share that with you.
Okay, then I also like to know online visibility. How robust is their platform? Do they have online visibility? Can you monitor it online? Does it have data logging? What are the parameters it's logging if it has data logging?
Yes, before now, we were using SIM card with the module provided. I think there is an improvement now, which we need to reconfirm. After the confirmation, then we'll now share that, because whatever going on the system, we confirm first. That's when we'll be able to say, okay, This is the way it works. It's not that it's going to work wrongly, but we need to be sure of what we are selling. So now they have, the newer version have inbuilt Wi-Fi, just like other smaller inverters. And you know, other smaller inverters there, they have the inbuilt Wi-Fi. Just do the configuration, normally connect to your Wi-Fi at home, and you'll be able to monitor from your phone. Anywhere, once you have internet, you monitor, you see what's going on, what's the power usage, what's the level of battery, what's this, you see all the information, your energy usage, energy consumption, and everything. So you see everything. It's the same thing, the same way this will work, but we need to confirm that of the Wi-Fi first, because it's a new part of it, is a new innovation on it now. We've been using SNMP card, we've been using GPRS, and all sorts of, and they were working then. If you put your SIM in it, and we were able to monitor. So you could be anywhere. Once you are connected to internet on your phone, you'll be able to see what's going on each of the inverters. So
okay, let me just do 2 more questions. First of all, how many years are you giving for warranty on this system? That's one. Then secondly, I heard you say something about 14,000 or 14,800 watts for the PV side. That's the charge controller end of the product. And I'm wondering, so that 14,000, does it go maybe 50-50 between charging and load, or 14,000 goes to the load, and then you use only 14,000 straight to the load, or 14,000 straight to the battery? What I'm trying to say in essence is that, does it split it? Does it say out of that 14,000, you can use a load of maximum, maybe 7,000 load, then 7,000 goes to charging the battery? Or is however you like, you use it?
Okay, thank you. On the warranty, it's 18 months. Then on the function, it works smoothly, but the capacity you can get from the roof, from the PV, from the panels, that so if hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so if you have battery, of course, the whole 18 will not go into a smaller size of battery. I mean, the whole 14,000 that we mentioned will not go into a smaller size of battery. For instance, you have just a set of maybe 10 kilowatt hour battery, which will take about 20 amps to 40 amps. If you look at that, 20 amps is just about 1,000 watts. 40 amps on that battery is just about 2,000 watts. And if you have a lot of solar panels, that means you can connect more loads. So the one you have set for your battery is fixed. That one is controlled. It will be charging your battery with that current that you set, and the remaining will go to your load. If you increase your load, if the generation is capable of delivering the power, it will also increase and it will power your load. For instance, you have a solar panel that is capable of delivering 10,000 watts on your roof, and you have battery that can just take maybe just 1,000 or 2,000 watts for charging. You know, the rest, you can have a load that can take 8,000 watts. So which means when you are getting your 10,000 watts from the roof, 8,000 watts is going to your load, and the remaining 2,000 watts is going to your battery as you are programming it. So that's the way it works. It's smoothly switching. It's smoothly switching, and it's varying. It depends on what you have here and what you have here, unless you configure it that, okay, no, whatever comes, I don't want you to go to my battery. You can decide to say, okay, don't charge my battery. You can decide to say, okay, what's coming? Just charge my battery and don't come out. So, but it depends on what you choose. But it's known everywhere that free energy supposed to be used by your load and battery. So that's why it made priority as a default in the settings.
Okay, let me make the question a little bit more detailed because
Okay.
I'm trying to get something. I want to know, peradventure, I am interested in charging my battery. Let's say you're using lithium-ion batteries and you have maybe 40 or 50 kilowatts, 10, all stacked, meaning that you can ramp it up as high as 100 amps or even more. And
Okay.
I'm interested in just charging my batteries full as quickly as possible. Can I deliver the full 14,000 to just charge the battery? I'm not carrying load. The second side of it, if I'm interested in carrying more load, I know your inverter is 10,000. I probably am thinking that your inverter can only max 10,000 load, even if it is delivering 14,000 on the solar, meaning that the 4,000 left will not be delivered to load because of the capacity of the inverter. Is that right?
Exactly. Exactly. You cannot load it beyond 10 kilowatts. It's going to show you overload, but it's going to give you that 10 kilowatt if that's what you want to do. You know, you and I know that you need to give excess. You need to manage well for a shoot up or increase in load and everything. So, which means you won't be operating at that exact 10 kilowatts.
Okay, but at least I can deliver 14,000 to the battery.
You can, which is the maximum. So
Yes.
you also give some margin. You also give some margin, but you can get 10,000 watts from it. And if you want to deliver it to battery, you can do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Engineer K. Engineer Gabriel, please, can you go ahead with your question?
All right, thank you, Engineer Kunle, for the presentation. I want to confirm. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, please.
Yeah, I want to confirm on the remote monitoring platform, can the parameters be altered remotely? That's the first question. And secondly, can the inverter be shut down remotely via the remote monitoring feature? Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So some of the parameters can be altered. It's for security reasons. Because it's not, you have access to it and your client too can have access to it. Nobody should just go and be pressing anything, just change values. For instance, you have set 20 amps for charging and you now discover that your client has changed it to 100 amps. So some you can do that, for some you won't be able to alter it. For now, I don't think the inverter can do that remote shutdown operation. I need to reconfirm that for you. Hello?
Engineer Gabriel, are you good with that?
Yes, I'm okay with the explanation and the answers.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. There is a question in the chat box. It says, since it's a three-phase hybrid inverter, three-phase in and out, what happens when one phase is out from the input side?
Okay. It is by standard a three-phase in and out system, which means it is expected to power as additional load a three-phase synchronous load, like a pump that is operated with a three-phase supply. So for that pump, if one phase fails, then the pump can get damaged if there are no protective devices to shut the rest of the phases down. So the same thing is applicable here. When one phase is out at the input from the grid or from your generator, then the inverter shuts down and just work on your battery. It will work from your battery or your solar if they are available as alternative supply to it. Then it will use those ones to power your load. When one phase fails from the input, it will drop the rest. It won't work, it won't charge with it, and it won't pass it out. But at the output, you have the advantage of loading any of the phases to its maximum capacity. If you have, for instance, if you are using a 10 kilowatt system, which means each output is about 3.3 kilowatts. If you have a 3 kilowatt or 3.3 kilowatt load, you can connect it to one output, while others are not loaded at all. The inverter will not shut down because it has not reached its overloaded point. It will only shut down when it gets to that overload point. Without that, if you like load one output or you don't load anything, it doesn't complain. Whether they are balanced or they are not balanced at the output, so far none of the output has exceeded the capacity, the limit. It won't shut down. But it's always good to make sure that the loads are balanced.
Okay,
I think
thank you, Engineer K. The next question is, person is asking, where can I get the configuration software?
The configuration software is always in the pack. Every unit of the inverter has a software. So you remove it, load it on your laptop, and then it also came with a USB cable, which will be the interface, a link between the inverter and your laptop for configuration. And then you configure according to what you have on site.
Okay, thank you, sir. Question also, please, my question is, if I use 1 unit of 10 kilowatts InfiniSolar, how many watts each phase is?
Each phase is 10 kilowatt divided by 3. As simple as that. The whole phase added up together is what gives the 10 kilowatt. But for one phase, it is 10 kilowatts divided by 3.
Okay, thank you. Do you still have any question? I don't know, maybe this is an observation. Person said, I think 14,000, which is the maximum, should not be used to power the system because of over voltage. I will suggest you power it with less voltage below the 14,000.
Okay, the 14,000 we are talking about here is not voltage. The solar DC input voltage is maximum of 1,000. And we have already said you can operate within 500 to 800 volts. But the 14,000 there is the capacity. It's 14,000 watts. That's the capacity. And I also mentioned that even that 14,000 watts, I don't expect anybody to be operating at maximum. So if that's 14,000 watts, then you can operate maybe 10, maybe 11, but less than that 14. So that's it.
I have an input I want to make, please. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Engineer K.
Yeah,
okay, what is the tolerance? What is the tolerance for low input voltage? Can you hear me?
Yeah, low input range.
Okay.
Is it utility? Well, there is tolerance, and then there are compensation. In fact, that's one good reason for configuration. I mentioned that time that you need to, that you don't choose UPS when you want to use generator. So it can tolerate a low voltage and a high voltage, but the output voltage is set to be 230 volts. The input voltage can go as high as I think 270 volts or 275. The low input voltage will be 175 or 180 volts. So that's the range. Within that range, the output is always okay to operate with.
Okay, there's another question. You said, is it possible to configure the inverter to give priority to battery charging using solar?
Yes, it is possible. And that's part of the priority we mentioned. That, okay, you want what is coming from the solar to first of all go to your battery. Then as first priority, the second priority will be to your load is achievable. So it's you that will set it that, okay, this is what I want. There are many, many other functions inside it.
Thank you. There's a question also. Please, I have 10 HP submersible pumping machine, which is 3-phase input. Is it advisable to recommend this inverter?
10 horsepower is approximately 10 kilowatts. And for such capacity, the surge generation, as in the surge that it will deliver when you want to start, is always high. Now, if you have a system that the maximum capacity is 10 kilowatts and you want to power a 10 kilowatt load, it is not advisable that you use just one. You can cascade. You can cascade. You can join you can put two inverters together. That will give you 20 kilowatts. And then you'll be running your 10 kilowatts, which is at 50%. Any other load can still come up, any other lighter load, maybe lighting and every other can come up on it. But it is not advisable to use just one unit for that 10 horsepower pump.
Okay. Thank you, Engineer K. Thank you so much. Do you still have any question?
Yeah, sorry, let me just ask one last question. Does your product come with any form of protection in terms of maybe breakers or SPDs or anything that would protect the input and the output side of the equipment?
Okay. On the body of the inverter, there is input breaker, which is for the grid utility supply into the inverter. Then there is a selector switch for solar. Other protections are soft protections like overload, shutdown, and which are internal. But you are advised to get source for a component to safeguard externally, to protect the system externally. As we mentioned, you need your lightning arrestor, which has to be put on your roof. You need your breakers at the output, at the input. You need your surge protectors. You need many other, for PV, you need a circuit breaker separately for PV, for solar. That's why we said it's high voltage, about 1000 volt DC, 2-pole or 4-pole. So you need all these as recommended. And the battery breaker is also external that you have to provide. All these will protect and they will help you during troubleshooting. I think that answers that question.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you, Engineer K. Last question, please. This person is please, do you advise common neutral installation on this inverter, input and output neutral to be common?
It is recommended by Gennex that all neutrals must be connected to a central point, which means input and output neutral are terminated to a block, which is called neutral block.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Engineer K.
You're welcome.
Let's just do this last question, sir, please. If I'm using a lithium battery, which is already fitted with breaker on it, do I need to install another battery breaker?
it is advisable to do that. Yes, your lithium ion have breakers on them, but then you may not be using only one battery. If you want to shut down the system completely, the last breaker that will go off is the battery breaker, which you have to provide. And at once, you have a battery breaker that's controlling all the batteries you have connected. So this will also help you during troubleshooting. Then if you want to change, maybe they want to now change the type of battery for a reason, because it's possible you are using lithium ion battery now, something happens, you want to move them away, you want to put another set of batteries. So what happens? That means the system now has no battery breaker. So it's always advisable to provide battery breaker as a standard, whether you have on lithium ion or not.
Thank you so much, Engineer K. And thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, we really appreciate. Thank you for your time. And this time is being recorded and will be uploaded on our YouTube channel within 24 hours. You can check on our site. Because we'll be run. Okay. Thank you, Keme. The webinar recording will be uploaded on our YouTube page in 24 hours. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye. Have a nice week. Thank you.
You too. Have a nice week, sir.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
You're welcome, man. Have a nice day.